Hello. We are joined today by one of our Jeff Forney friends. We just had saw recently, and we are connected through you. And we're excited to meet you. You're coming from Pasadena. This is Adrian. Welcome.
Hey,
Hello.
Adrian. Glad you're
Hi,
here.
Sarah. Good. Hi, Sarah. How are
Hi.
Yeah,
you?
we're so glad you're here. Yeah, tell us your story or how you want to begin.
Well, story one again. Well, let's start from, you know what? I'll start from this last year because this has a trajectory of like everything that happened from the past, which made me reconnect with the past. I'm an adoptee. Oh, go figure. Hello.
That's why you're on our podcast. We are a oral history of
Wait, what?
adoptee
You're an
stories.
adoptee? Interesting. Yeah, I'm a domestic adoptee. I am originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hmm.
I have a twin brother, I have an older sister, and then I have three other brothers, all from the same biological mother. Besides my twin and I, different fathers.
Were you adopted with your twin?
I was adopted with
Okay.
my twin. Actually, yeah, so our story is very, very interesting and unique, I feel. Um, we were left, our uncle ended up coming and getting us out of the trap house in a sense. But our mom had left us there. Our biological father was gone. And I guess we had been there a day or two. I'm gonna get to this. It's so funny. So I'll get back to that story just to tell because there was some things that came to light recently and a memory that I had when I was doing some inner childhood work. And I then brought it to my uncle, and he then told me the story that was true from a memory that came to be recently. Um, so I'll go into the last year, like I said before. This last year and a half, I decided that I was going to go on an exploration of journey of like finding the roots of me. And a few years back, my biological mother had passed away. She struggled with substance abuse for a long time, and in light of after COVID, it got the best of her, and she had passed. And when we went back to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to reconnect my twin and I with our also one of our other younger brothers who was adopted with us, we, met with our sister and our other two brothers and our whole family and went to the funeral. And it was just so good to see everyone and be with everyone. But the thing that I was so distraught by or not, a little bit upset by was the fact that I couldn't cry. I was not upset at I mean, I was upset at the funeral, but more than anything, I felt like a sense of guilt.
Mm.
And I really wished that I had time to say the things that I wanted to say to feel a little bit more of connection with her. We had kept in touch with her. We played college football at Indiana, so she'd come to games. We talked to her on our birthday. She would call us on our birthday. We'd call on her birthday. And but we never got into like explore and get to know her. Um, so when she passed, I think I felt that I wasted time that I could have had with her. And I'm a father. It just put things in perspective on me. And maybe around that time, I had got in touch with my biological father. And I got in touch with him because my sister was at a store and ran into his mother and said, "Oh, how are the twins?" and got the information. And she said, "Hey, if you ever wanted to get to know or reach out, here's his mother's number." So I called her and just got the information just to have. I wasn't ready to have a reunion or to talk yet or anything. I was kind of still going through some things. And he reached out anyway once I called
So
him.
wait, I just want to clear something up. Your sister, who was not his biological child, happened to know his mother, your grandmother?
Yeah, we kept pretty close. So the interesting thing with us, with all of us, all my other, besides our youngest brother who stayed with my mom, all of us were taken in um, by a family member or like so my sister got taken in by her father's side of the family, so his like grandpa and raised her. My brother and I went through the foster system, was with someone, a foster mom who was awful. And then our aunt, so our mom's sister, saw what was happening to us and saw the things that we were going through. So she ended up adopting my twin and I.
Oh,
So
Mm.
okay.
my mom, who I call my mother, is biologically my aunt.
Your
So
aunt. Yeah,
I
okay.
call her mom. So she took Aaron and I. So yes, so my sister from a different father, she had ran into him because she they knew who they all knew who we were. We kind of have kept pretty close though. We still talk to each other because we're only one iota away from a family, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so I got in touch with him, but I wasn't ready to talk to him. And then about last year, I reached out to him, and his phone kept disconnecting every month. So I just time passed by. I said, okay, well, never mind. And then it just felt right this year. He reached out to me. We had a long talk, and I thought about all the things that I was feeling in 2025. Yeah, so last year. I had a lot of changes in my life. I just moved to this place that I am at now. I went through a really kind of rough breakup,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in a interesting part of my career. I'm a filmmaker, but I also am in the health business as well, and I went back to the health business. But it was just an interesting time in the industry.
Yeah.
And so I thought, now's a good time to like, I feel like I'm ready to go meet him. And so we started the conversations. And I thought to myself, I want to document this. I don't know why. I just would like to document the meeting of my father and exploring what that's like. And when I decided that, I went on this whole exploration this last
I'm
year.
sure.
Um, I ended up working on and making a feature documentary on me and my twin story on meeting him and the story of meeting other adoptees and diving in of making this film while also reconnecting to myself and doing therapy, inner childhood work, and
It's
really
a
just
big
diving in and
year.
meeting other adoptees, which I've never done before either.
Yeah. What's the name of your documentary?
It's called Finding Home.
Finding Home, so people hear
hmm
it.
Finding Home, the journey to biological roots. And we
Mm.
just wrapped a month ago of a year and a half of principal photography.
Oh,
So we're in the editing stages right
excited to
now, which
see
is
it.
fun.
What can
Um,
can I ask you something? So your father, you said he was never involved from day
Never.
one, but so how,
So
did
did you
he,
meet him? Yeah.
yeah, and did he keep up with you
No,
guys?
in
Like, did he
November,
know?
we filmed the whole trip.
But prior to that, like as a
Never.
Okay,
child, you
okay.
had never met him,
I
but he
have no
knew of.
recollection of meeting him or talking to him. Apparently he saw us when we were really, really young, but
Mm.
I don't
Oh, that's what I
remember.
wondered. Yeah,
I've
So
never
he
had a
did
conversation
know
with
about
him.
you, obviously.
He knew
Mm.
about my brother and
Okay.
I, for
Okay.
sure. And these were questions that when we
of
met, like I just
course. You're
asked.
like, why
And I
didn't
don't,
you care? Yeah,
yeah, what happened? You didn't want to come find us. And I don't, I think it was really hard for him to answer.
I'm sure.
He was going through things and he left, my biological mother and they were on substances and he wanted to get out of that. And
And
I,
how old was he when you were born?
he was around the age that I am, a little younger. I am 38. I think he was about 30 years old,
At the
29,
time.
30.
So the in your birth order, are you and your twin the youngest?
We're the second oldest.
Mm,
And
So
oh, the second
we have a
oldest.
sister, my sister Alana. I'm 19 minutes older than my twin. Haha, I always like say that in because I'm the older brother, but
yeah.
So there's two of us. And then we have another brother, Austin.
Hmm.
Uh, then we have another brother, Eric, and Eric was adopted with us years later. He's 8 years younger than we are. And
Mm.
then our other brother, Dustin, who stayed with my mom and,
Was
you know,
that hard?
complications with him,
Well,
huh?
that was hard for him staying with your mom.
Yeah, he's going through some similar issues that my
Yeah.
mom had right now. We've
Mm.
been trying to, without
Yeah.
getting into detail and
Of
things like that,
course.
but he's really, yeah. So we've been recently, actually, right around the time we finished this, and so trying to
Oh, yeah.
help him. Yeah,
So
hard for him.
so you started going through all this stuff. You did your documentary. Did you? find out more about your own early days and how old were
Yeah.
you when you were taken and put into foster care?
Yeah. So part of the documentary, what I didn't expect to, is I interviewed other people's journey on their reunion. So it follows a few stories and different stages of connecting with their biological parents. And I didn't know any of this, but when I went to the adoptee conference in Portland, I'd never met adoptees, never talked to adoptees, didn't know the classifications of different
Right.
adoptees, but international, transracial, domestic, I didn't know any of these.
You are a kinship adoptee.
Yes, I was a kinship adoptee. We went through the foster system at first, and it was not great. I do remember some things with our first kind of foster mom,
Oh,
which I can't, but like I would never, you
of
know.
course.
Um,
Which affects you
it
forever, all
it
this
did,
stuff.
and I didn't realize this. And
Yeah.
when part of this journey, what I was doing, I ended up getting an inner childhood coach.
Hmm.
I had been in therapy this last year, just like sorting through these issues, and also someone to talk to while I'm doing this and
Right.
filming these very intimate moments of me struggling with the things that are happening, us meeting him, and just processing, holding space for others in this documentary as they go through their
Hmm.
journey. Um, and I remember with the inner childhood coach is it was very interesting the activity that we did when we like are talking to our younger self. And when we, she had some prompts or things that we talked about, and she, with the right hand, we write with, as us, conversations,
Right.
and the left hand, just free, not thinking, is in her childhood. And there
Hmm.
was a memory that popped up when she had done an activity about, do you remember what's an earliest memory that you had that you felt unsafe or something that you may think that have happened or you may not know? And it was I had this memory of Aaron and I in a crib, and I remember like a toy train or a truck, and TV was blasting, the door was open, and it was a mess. And I just remember looking around, and I don't know for how long, but then I remember a rush of people coming in, and it was I thought my uncle and my grandmother and my mom, I believe, my aunt. Um, And I thought, I'm like, is this real? Like, why am I having this memory? I, 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 I don't know why this is coming up. And I went back home, went back to my grandmother's one weekend to help her out with some stuff and met with my uncle, who also flew to Arizona to go help. And we were in the car and I said, hey, Uncle Terry, I have a question for you. And he's like, yeah, go for it. I was like, hey, can you explain like was there a memory? Did you like get Aaron and I out of um, a crib where we left, or I just remember seeing your guys' face rush in, picking us up and taking us out of the home, and I don't know how long we were left there. And he stops the car and turns around. And he's like, "You remember that?" I was
Oh.
like, "Whoa,
Mm.
that's real? Like, what happened?" And he proceeded to tell me exactly that our mom was somewhere and there was a neighbor coming in a house and there was like old food on a pot that was left and we had been left there for a day or two and we were there. They came and got us and took us out of the situation. And I was just amazed on how this memory came flooding back once I started to explore and identify and connect with my inner childhood. And it made me think about a lot of the things that I may have suppressed uh, for my own, well-being or, and health that had, occurred.
Yeah. Of course.
Mm.
And you have you've left your mother. I mean, whether that's good or bad, you have the situation where you're taken from your mother. Now you're in this horrible situation. This is definitely affects you.
Yeah,
Oh my
to
goodness.
say the
S-
least.
Makes me sad.
that- And so then you went from there into foster care? Is that when that
Yeah,
happened?
we
And
went
so
from
you
there.
were in crib, so you were still
We yeah
babies.
we were babies. One thing, the thing that it's the thing that I constantly remember is the times at grandma's house on the weekend, the time with cousins, going to Six Flags Great America on on like reunion trips and spending a lot of times with weekend and barbecues. I remember all those amazing, amazing times. I remember when my aunt took us in and we were playing outside and there was like family things that we had. It was very foggy and things kind of the things that occurred before, but we were in the foster care system and we ended up just how whatever the times worked. I was, back in those days, there were some, different rules and regulations on how things and were handled. And then we were taken in with, I guess it was like an uncle's ex girlfriend or wife who was taking in, who had two kids who were older, who was, I guess fostering. And
Bad.
I do remember some of those
Yeah.
um, experiences.
I'm
It was not
sorry.
great.
No.
And this was all in Minneapolis,
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Sorry.
Yeah,
What did
no,
I
that's
think?
okay.
Yeah.
When did
It's the Midwest. It's the same. It's
yeah.
same weather.
When did
Yes.
so when did
So,
you go with your aunt who you call mom? How
um,
old were
I
you?
I believe it was 6 or 7. I want to say
Oh,
7. I
so you were
think.
in foster care a while. Yeah.
Yeah, we were with Diane. What's her name?
Mm.
God, I have not. This is the first time I've actually like said her name out
Wow.
publicly,
Yeah.
and like, yeah. Um, yeah, no. We stayed with her for a year or two. It's hard to remember at that age,
Yeah, of course.
but I just remember being at loving the weekends when grandma and we did
Yeah.
all the fun stuff and ride bikes
Safety.
and engage. And yeah, and then once our, aunt, there was a lot of struggle. We had a lot of therapy at that time just to get through that. I think were also mandatory. Um, as she was taking us as a single woman. It's so crazy because she was 28, 29, 20, anywhere between 27 to 29 when she adopted us. She had just finished business school and
She did the
it's
right thing,
amazing.
right? She saw family in crisis, did the right thing.
Did the right thing and she's amazing. Like I
Hmm.
just like I look even to this day she amazes me on the things that she does and how much love and care she has for us, and
Yeah.
we're her kids
Yeah, of
as
course.
far as I see.
So then you move in with her, and do you have any contact with your natural mom, or is
Yeah,
she just kind of
I
and
think,
and your other siblings were dispersed elsewhere until your youngest brother came?
yeah. So basically, we kept in touch with her when she was in and out, I believe. At that time, I was super young, so I didn't understand. But when there were times when she got, sober and you would think that she pieced and got her things together, but it's a lifelong
It is.
Hmm.
struggle and commitment that you have to not falling back into old habits. Um, so yeah, we kept in touch. Like I said, we call her on birthday. She called us. I
Mhm.
think that she'd stop by a little bit in Wisconsin, but we moved from Milwaukee. My adopted mom, Cynthia, she met someone and got married, and we moved to Arizona to Phoenix.
Okay.
And life changed for us. Different class, different experiences. We moved away from like majority of our family, so it was just me, my twin with her and our adopted father, Mark, who was amazing, who taught us so much and drive and focus and as well. Just things that we had never really had up until that point. Like our Uncle Dave was pretty much like
The guy.
father figure, and Terry, and so
So it was a good adoptive father situation.
he was great. He was
Mm.
absolutely wonderful. I mean, and as we got older, there are things that we worked on, but he was amazing. He took us in, he taught us drive, he made sure that we were engaged in all the extracurricular activities and sports and doing the things that we wanted to, and also pushing us to like to have drive, to commit to something and stay in commitment, and all the fundamentals that
Yeah.
help you live life.
Yeah.
So,
Thank God for both of them. And when did your younger brother join you in Arizona? Was that during that time? Or he
so
had
we were
already?
with them first, just us. He's 8 years younger than us.
Right.
So I think it was around the time he was like, I want to say 3, 4, 5.
Okay. You're in your
Uh,
teens.
I think we were when he came to live with us, we were just getting out. We were in middle school, I believe,
Okay. In Arizona.
in Arizona.
Okay.
And then so yeah, so we were in middle school. He stayed with us, and he's the second youngest. So there was Austin went with Mr. Winthizer, his grandpa,
Yeah.
on that side of the family, and Eric didn't know. Eric had almost the identical experience that we had in the crib
Oh,
as well.
Mm.
And I believe my uncle Terry also was the one to grab him as well.
yeah.
And I remember the conversation with our mom. Arizona's like, "Hey, can we have a talk? You have your young brother Eric. Very similar situation that's happening to him. That's happening to you." And him and Mark, our adopted father, decided that we're gonna take him in as well.
And you were
Mm.
like, yes.
And I said, "Okay, yeah."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he lived with us from there on, and from then on, and then we moved to the Bay Area. They ended up splitting up when we were
Oh
in
no.
end of middle
Mm.
school to high school, going in middle school in about eighth grade. She moved to San Francisco. We stayed a year first with dad because we were playing football and we were so heavily involved. Everyone knew who we were there just
Yeah.
to work on all those things. And then we moved to the Bay Area with our mom our sophomore year in high school.
And
Did
did
you
they?
stay in touch
Yeah.
with Mark?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So we
good.
stayed
That's
there for
awesome.
a couple years, played football, was doing well and everything. Then our senior year, we moved back to Arizona to the high school we went to and finished out there. And my brother and I got full football scholarships to Indiana and went there. So yeah, I mean, I still talk to him. That's Grandpa Mark. He loves my son, and
I
that's
love
Grandpa. So
that.
we still talk. And
How
So
old is
they,
your son?
yeah.
he will be 8 in June.
Mm.
Oh, I know. And then you really start thinking about your life, right? When you're so
Honestly,
protective of your 8-year-old, like, what could happen?
that's why. Yeah, super
Yeah.
protective, and it's I all these things were coming up for me being a father
Yeah.
and going through this experience, and so I needed a lot of this year was the year of I always thought that I was okay. I was like, I'm good. I don't need to
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
fine.
need
Like I don't
this.
need to dive in there. Like we're good. I'm fine. I'm doing what I need to do. I'm being successful. And I realized that all the things that my mindset was based off, like really trying to prove that I matter and I'm going to prove people wrong. When people say I can't do something, huh? Okay, we'll see.
Right.
Um,
Right.
part of the drive and the commitment, and it really put things in perspective this year when I really dove in, and I'm like, oh, actually, I there's some things that have come up that I'm actually like struggling with a little bit mentally
Yeah.
that I need to process. That
Mm.
I was like,
And they
shut it
still
down.
come up. Here's the thing, like you'll probably have a lifetime where you think and then it comes up again, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
these things do happen. And when you were on the road with, filming, did you learn, like, I'm curious what you learned with all the other adoptees. Like, what is your takeaway from that? Like, were you just like, whoa, when you're hearing stories and stuff?
It makes me teary-eyed just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I felt so welcomed. I
Mm-hmm.
felt so understood, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt like, wow, this is not something that I've just gone through. There are so many others who have gone through similar situations, and we have some of the same ideology based off those things. And we all want to feel loved. We all
Yeah.
want to feel a sense of belonging. I think struggling with it, from that automatically is like having to get over like abandonment issues
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
all the things that a lot of us kind of go through and process. I just was like, whoa, can I curse? Is that all right?
Of course.
Where the fuck have I been? Like, how have I not talked about this to anybody? And I think everyone's like, you're bold. You have some like excuse my, it's like
Yeah.
you're bold to like go on this. I was like, oh yeah, I guess so. I didn't realize how much of these things that I had pushed down and how much of all these things
Yeah.
that people also are afraid to share. And like I said, I've never talked to any of the adoptees, shared my
No.
story. So the start of this, I went to the BIPOC Adoptee conference in Portland, and I met
Oh,
a
you
whole
did.
bunch of people and shared my story. And then a lot of them were out here, and we do meetups and potluck, and it was just like there's so much love in that
Right.
community, and you just feel so heard.
Yeah.
And I don't know, yeah, it's
Yeah,
honestly,
we have the same. I was just curious about it because for us too, that's like where we feel community, right? Just our live events, seeing these other people, and you can talk freely. You're not weird. You and you're
yeah,
like, oh, yeah, people have with your stuff, you probably find the same people that have gone through stuff that you're similar to. Everybody feels connection. And even if you're different, you feel connection. The
Yeah.
abandonment stuff, that you said when you heal from abandonment. I'm like, does it ever go away? I don't know.
Yeah, does it? That's a that's a good question. Probably not, but you
We're
learn
a
how
lot older
to.
than you. I'd say maybe not.
You look great. So,
Oh, thank you. But
both of y'all.
thank you.
So, you went to your mom's funeral
Yeah.
and you're still in touch with your adoptive mom, obviously.
Oh, she was one of the executive producers for this, like working on this
Oh, she
documentary
was.
as I shared the journey, and she's like, honestly, she was just so happy that I was like actually, you know, connecting with that and trying to have some resemblance of understanding and processing, you know.
Did your twin participate in the documentary?
So at first he did not, and he wasn't going to, but he ended up last minute deciding to go on the road trip to Vegas to meet my dad
Mm.
and have that experience
Oh,
with us.
Oh, so you went together to meet your dad. And
Yeah,
how was that? And how is your relationship with your dad now?
what a journey. What a journey. My twins, my twin's so silly. He's so funny. He's wild. Um, the journey to, to at first I thought that I was going to get all these answers. Initially I was like, I have questions. I have questions that I want answered and that I would love to get answered just to meet you. And then as I got closer and closer and started to engage and understand adoptees, talk to other adoptees, hear other people's experience, create and have space for other people to share their stories, the more I realized and the more I had understanding that I really started to change and shift where I had no expectations. I think the only expectation that I had was just to meet. And by not having like, I want this and I'm wanting that, I was able to like just be present
hmm
and to fully engage and ask questions that I felt that I wanted to ask, but just to meet. He was so happy to meet us. He was so excited.
Mm.
And it was very cool to see a lot of the similarities
hmm
that we had. Like, I was a junior Olympian and an athlete and very physical and I loved traveling and I love knowledge and he was had held the state for the fastest,
hmm
400 time or 200 time. He was, on par to be an Olympian as well. And his brother played football at Wisconsin back in the day. We played at Indiana University. So there were just so many interesting similarities that we had, I guess, from a genealogy perspective.
hmm
And, and even just I got to find out a little bit more about his side of the heritage because I know with our side of the family, like our grandfather from our mom's side is from Ghana, like comes
hmm
from Ghana, and our grandmother is this like German Polish woman. So we're mixed, have a little bit of mix on that side. And then we find out he's, from African royalty, like family from African royalty descent. I believe he said also Ghanan. And I don't even think he fully knows, but he said like Ghanan or Nigerian. I don't, he said a lot of things that I was just trying to process. But, um, yeah, and just a little bit more about our culture and like his experiences and what he's done. I think on that perspective, and just to find out if there anything that I need to look out for in the future as far as like
Yeah.
health and things like that. Um,
Did he have explanations for you of like did you get any healing from that or was he shut down in that area?
you know what? To be honest with you, I think the healing was done on the journey on my own with
Yeah.
the therapy, with the inner childhood work, with connecting with other adoptees. So by the time I got there for that
hmm
experience, we're never fully, I mean, we're still always still healing, but there was so
Right.
much that I had done at that point that I remember being interviewed before and I said, I'm okay. I have only any something to gain from it just to meet and have that experience.
Yeah.
I think the healing was just done. I think to be honest with you, I think the healing was mostly for him.
Mm. I
If
had
I'm
that. I
if
had
I'm
that
being
feeling.
honest,
Yeah.
I felt healed. I felt so happy that he was happy.
Yeah.
I felt, the first thing that we all agreed on, I said, listen, people are fucking complex. People go through things and you have no idea what someone can process or how someone's going to handle things. But when we said, you're like, there's no bad blood. It's all love here. This happened for a reason. And I am the person now today, regardless of the things that have happened to me to get me here. That was my journey. And I'm just thankful that I'm able to do this and I'm in a place to be where I'm at because had I maybe stayed in the situation and struggled, could I have been here? Would I have been here? I see a whole different trajectory for me in life that was
Mhm.
possible or not possible had I had a different situation. So I think that was the ground rules and the ground base for our conversation. So because
Mhm.
that was the base, it was a more of just like funny conversation and to be with you and like it was like being at the barbecue, like just talking to a
Yeah.
relative that you were getting to know and to see. And so there were some conversations that I asked, and I think he tried to answer as best as he could.
Yeah.
Now, did he have other kids? Do you have siblings from him?
No.
No, you're
No.
his only kids. And did he, has he gotten clean?
I believe so. I think so. He has gotten clean. He's in a place where they monitor. He has some health things, but I don't know what they're from. We didn't really dive into that. It
Hmm.
was more, but he seemed like he had gotten more of his life together. Yes, and he was
Mm.
like doing things, and he had been engaged in like he works. He was doing a social worker for a minute for a while too. So it seemed like he was clean and would I have liked to see him even live better? Of course, because you only want the best for people. At
Yeah.
least I do, especially, people that are, you just want them to do better,
Yeah.
be better. Um, but yeah.
And, and you're staying in touch with him?
Yeah, actually, he just left me a message a couple days ago, and I texted him and talked to him, and, we FaceTimed with my son just to meet him.
Oh.
It's so funny. My son's like, "That's your real dad? Did he not
Right?
love you?" It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know about all that, but maybe he did.
Out of the
The-
mouths of 8-year-olds,
Yeah,
right?
you
Like
know.
Did
it's
he
in
not love you?
Yeah, he's like, Dad, so Grandpa Mark, that's not your real dad. I'm like, well, that's my dad. That's my dad. But biologically, no. And he's like, oh, so it's like, and then he's like, so did he
yeah.
not like love you? Like, why? I was like, that's a
Legit
good question, man.
question.
It is a legit question.
It's a legit question. And I had no answer. I was like, I don't know, man, but I think he's just going thing. He just couldn't handle us.
It's interesting because when you're saying that it was for his forgiveness or his like I went and met my biological dad who's since passed, but I had that feeling that it was more for him than me in a weird way. Like
Right?
this release from him. My son is 28 and still had those same questions. Like, what's up with him? Why isn't he? But
Right?
27, right? But it is kind of a question, right? But you can only push people so far. Like he couldn't
Yeah.
do more. He couldn't give me more answers and he wouldn't and he
Yeah.
couldn't. And
And
Well, and when you
he
have
asked a lot of
substance
questions.
issues,
yes, and he had them
substance
too.
issues overshadow everything.
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 You're right.
There's nothing that can conquer that until one conquers it on their
That's
own.
right. That's so
Correct.
It
true.
will, it becomes a priority for those
Yeah,
suffering from
right.
it, and everyone else around is a casualty of that. So,
Yeah. I g- and we asked him. He got to tell us a little about his family. We told his mom and he was calling everyone. He introduced us to his whole complex because he
Mm.
had been talking about us for a while. Because it took a year after
mhm.
talking to him
To go meet him.
consecutively on and off for a year. My husband's not going to go meet him because we just met him in November. And so I did ask him, we did, and I'll have to look back once we're scrubbing through the footage right now and we got all that and the
Yeah.
meetup and stuff. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but I do remember asking, hey, so like, how come you never found us, or did you have interest in like you wanted to see us, or, and I believe he said, he had kept an eye on us, but he didn't want to intrude, and he did say, which I don't know if it was the most honest thing, but I think it was just like kind of deflection. He said, I didn't know the how to get in touch with, family and if they wanted to. And I believe maybe they didn't he felt that they maybe not wanted to, but I he knew how, and he could have if he wanted to, but I think it was best though that he like let us do our thing. If I'm
Yeah.
looking back at it now, that he gave us our space because we had lived a whole life, and I, in all honesty, in those high school and stuff, I was so focused on other things and living, and I wasn't even, a lot of the times it never really crossed my mind. And it wasn't until I became like an adult, living on my own, there have been some changes in like life and career and being a father.
Yeah.
And then, my mother passing is when all those things started to resurface
Yeah.
and
I
became,
think, maybe too, you having biological relatives around you, your brother and your younger brother that and also your adoptive mom, it might kind of delay
yeah.
those other feelings, like that curiosity comes later maybe.
You know what? you know what? That actually, I never thought about it that way. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think you're exactly right because we had such ties to family still.
Mm-hmm.
Like our sister, we have a family reunion coming up, and like we're gonna meet with our sister and her son, our nephew, and me and Aaron, Eric, and all of us and uncles. So like we still, talk and see each other and
Mm-hmm.
kind of have that close. So I think you're right because we were in a family situation dynamic.
And you had a very much a mirror looking back
Right.
at you, you
Right.
know.
Yeah,
I love that
exactly.
you stayed together that whole
Yeah.
time. So glad
Yeah.
for
Exactly.
that.
Well, this has been a great
Yeah.
conversation, Adrian. Thank you for sharing and
Yeah.
can't wait to see your
I
documentary.
can't
And
either. Will you send it to us right away as a screener
Yes,
for
actually,
us?
we'll probably have a sizzle, like 2 to 4 minute sizzle reel from it, and I'm getting it ready for the conference, so I'll
Okay.
send it to you first. I would love to know your thoughts, but yeah, I will definitely let you know. And where are you guys located?
I'm in California, north of you, 3.5 hours, like San Luis Obispo area.
Oh, San Luis Obispo. Okay,
Yeah.
we live
Yeah.
in the
I
Bay. We're
am in
not
the
too far.
Midwest. I am in Kansas City. I moved here during the pandemic.
I liked your
My
Midwest
adopted father
joke.
is from Kansas City.
Mm.
Oh.
Okay, I've been there a few times.
Well, if you're ever here again, come see me.
I'd gladly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd
So,
love to stay in touch, and please do send it to us.
I will.
I'm
I
very
definitely will.
curious. I bet it's great.
And do you mind? I filmed a little bit of this. If I can
No,
use bits and pieces of this as a tell-in for
of
the documentary, is that okay?
course.
of
Okay.
Please.
course. Yeah.
Just like
We're
as a wrap
honored.
Good.
up, because you guys are great. And I love what you guys do. Keep doing what
Thank
you're
you.
doing.
Thank you.
You guys do such amazing work and have so many great conversations with
Thank
people.
you.
Like y'all are
Yeah.
rock stars. Keep doing it, please.
Thank you. You are
Back at you,
too.
friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. We're
Yeah.
excited about this. So yeah, we'd be honored to do that, to
Yeah,
have you.
I definitely will. I definitely will.
Thank
And let me
you.
know when this is put up and stuff. I'll
Yeah.
Okay, we will.
For sure. We will.
all right,
Yeah.
cool.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys so much.
Adrian.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.